All right, I finished the rough profiling in the fuller 2 days ago, and I spent the entirety of yesterday editing that video, so I didn't really get to do much work on it. Today, on the other hand, is a beautiful, beautiful day. Not a cloud in the sky, so it couldn't be a more perfect day to do a heat treat. As you saw, I just finished just rough ground the bevels. It's looking pretty good. I actually measured this thing with calipers. I thought it was a 1/4 inch, and it was supposed to be a 1/4 inch, but I think they gave you a little extra off the grind from the factory, so it's actually 0.272 inches thick. Getting this really high grind on the bevel really lightens this thing up a lot. It was pretty heavy. The edge is still pretty thick because I want it thick for heat treat, so it doesn't warp or anything like that. So even more metal is going to come off of this. So I'm not too worried about that. I actually keep my quench medium, which is just canola oil, in this big ammo can, surplus ammo can. It cost me like $15 for a gigantic ammo can. I actually haven't used that in about 6 months, so I have no idea if it's gone rancid or not, and I haven't opened that container, so I'm gonna have to check that before I heat treat. I'm pretty sure you can still use rancid canola oil for a quench medium, but it's gonna smell. If it smells bad, I might just have to plug my nose and get through it, and then wash that thing out, get rid of the old canola oil, and get some more. But I have no idea. If it's not rancid, perfect. But I'm gonna have to go check that real quick. There we go. Moment of truth. I think we're good. So while that cools down, just to talk about a couple of things. I hope I got enough footage for the heat treat. My typical recipe, since this is just carbon steel, it's basically 1080 plus. It's 80 CRV2 1/4 inch. What I do basically is, since I don't have a forge that can regulate the exact temperature and get like everything out of the process that I need, I just go the standard, beginner forge recipe with carbon steel, where 4 normalization cycles. So that basically means getting it up to a temperature where it's not magnetic anymore, and then basically letting it air cool until it gets completely black. So if you hold it under like a very low light, you can't see any more glow. So I do that 4 times, and then on the 4th one, that's when you quench in canola oil warmed to 130 to 150 degrees. So that's why I put that, I quenched that bolt in beforehand. So I got it to about 160, 168 degrees, and then I started my 4th soak. So on the 4th one, you quench it into the canola oil, and that has worked out pretty well for me. Some martensite did appear to form on the blade, so that's a good sign that at least some of it has hardened. I've never been really good at trying to figure out how to test hardness with a file, because noise doesn't really do it for me. Obviously I can tell the difference between this and that, but of course this is the spine, so it's going to create a different sound when you run a file over it as opposed to the edge. But what you're looking for here is for the file to just skate along without it, biting in. But that's not an exact science either, and sometimes it's really hard to tell. Sometimes you have to scrape away the first layer of crud that's on there, like oily crap, to get to the part where it really feels like that file skating. Also, what I've just been able to do is to just take this edge right here, the file, try to drag it over the spine, and it digs in. When I do that over the edge, I mean, it wants to dig in, but it just kind of slides right over. I can't get it to stop. Whereas on the spine, I can get it to hang up. On the edge, I can't. That tells me that the edge has at least hardened. That's what I can do with my janky forge made of blocks. I need to build a new one, but definitely better forges out there. But it heats up metal. So I mean, I can't really complain. So I'm gonna go to the belt grinder now and take the first layer of crud off of one side, maybe both sides, just on the bevels, and do 2 tempering cycles in the oven at 420 degrees for an hour each, letting it cool off in between each cycles. Heat treating something around a propane fueled fire with burners, along with trying to make sure that your blade gets hard, and then filming all of it by yourself with multiple different cameras, that's very, very stressful. I was like shaking afterwards, just because it's so much you have to do. You have to like activate a bunch of cameras while you're heat treating it and painting the heat on the blade. I mean, that always stresses me out whenever I film stuff like this. So it's good to have this portion done, and it's good that it worked out on the first try. So that's going to be the end of the work for today. So I'm going to take a break and relax for the rest of the day.